welcome to Real Talk Fins Talk. I'm your host, Steve Malloy, and joining me tonight is founder, producer, jack of all trades, Bobby Melendez. How you
What's
doing,
up, my
Bobby?
man? How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing good. It's hot here in Texas. It's a cool 106 degrees right now, so it's cooled off a little bit. It's getting in towards the evening time. It was up to about 111, 112 today, so it was pretty hot. But also, I wanted to make mention, um, folks that are joining us tonight. Thank you. Number one, we couldn't do this show without you. Number two, please like and subscribe, share with your friends, your families, your neighbor, and we are right about at 1,000. We're maybe 30 short of 1,000. So if you could like that, hit that like button. We'd appreciate it. We can get to 1,000. We can do a lot more. We can provide a lot more content for y'all. So please hit that like button and share with your friends, your families, your neighbors. And remember, we may not all agree everything Dolphins, but there's one thing we can agree on. We are all Dolphins.
And I'll just say we're 124 short, but we're still very
Oh,
close. Yeah,
124
we're
short. My bad.
876. We're getting there though, and
Okay. So
it's a lot of fun.
all the more they need to hit that
The
like
more the
button.
merrier. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. We got
Uh,
a lot of great stuff, a lot of great Dolphins content,
mhm.
sports content here on Finstock Sports Network.
In fact, Bobby, I know following our show tonight, we have Fast Break. And what do you got going on Fast Break tonight?
Yeah, fast break, man. It's gonna be a great show. Obviously, we're talking Miami Heat basketball, talking NBA, not just obviously the Heat in the offseason, but NBA. What's gonna happen? We got the draft on Thursday night. We got a live draft reaction show going on during the draft. But tonight, specifically for Miami Heat fans, we got Brandon Tobin on the show of 790 to ticket from the Tobin show. It's gonna be a great show. We're gonna talk about the Bradley Beal, going to the Phoenix Suns. Did the Heat miss out? Or, hey, did the Heat have eyes on a bigger picture and that be Damian Lillard? What's going to happen there? So much to talk about. We're going to talk about the NBA draft on Thursday. It's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure, if you're a Miami sports fan specifically, but even if you're just a Dolphins fan, you want to watch something else and support the channel, stick around. Go, after our show, go back to the YouTube page, smash into Fast Break, hit that like and subscribe button, and enjoy that episode as well.
Absolutely. Great. Good stuff. Good stuff. Also, I wanted to make mention, I know a lot of folks are probably wondering, where is Rob Mosley, Dolphin Thirsty? Well, he wasn't able to make it here tonight. He's with family visiting, and he wasn't able to make the show. But I do want to make sure you all don't forget. Check out his website, dolphinthirsty.com. He always has some great content in there talking about Dolphins. He has a lot of good trivia questions. And even, in fact, our founder producer, Bobby Melendez, sometimes has articles in there as well. So don't forget to check that out. And he has a show in the mornings called Dolphins Chatter. Starts 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. He will have a show, from what I understand, on Friday. So make sure you all check that show out, his show, Dolphin Chatter, on Friday. Wow, Bobby, we got a lot of good stuff going on, a lot of news. We got some breaking news, or for some people it might be breaking, others it may not. Tyreek Hill, our all-pro wide receiver, is being investigated. From what we understand, from the information that we have, is supposedly he got into an altercation with a gentleman at Hollover Beach, and so that's being investigated. That's really all we can say.
Yeah.
Once we get more information, then we'll definitely update y'all.
And Andy Slater reported that, and I was trying to I had it in front of me just a minute ago, and let me make sure I pull it up if I could do so. If not, I could give the gist of what went down there it is. Cool. Let me grab him. But here he goes. So this is of Andy Slater, at Andy Slater, and it's Slater. Slater's Scoop. on Twitter. Miami Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill allegedly slapped a boat employee on the back of the head this past weekend. A senior law enforcement source tells me. This is Andy Slater. The crew member does not want to press charges at this time, sources say. The incident, WPLG Local 10 Force reported, started when Hill's crew tried boarding the boat without permission, I'm told. Police are reviewing the video, which may show the altercation, sources say. So, yeah, so they're investigating that. They're going to see, obviously he didn't want to press charges, which is a good thing.
That's a good thing. Yep.
But it's not just that either, Steve. I mean, again, earlier today, a video Drew Rosenhaus himself released. Him and Tyreek were on the boat, and this is probably where this kind of went from. And they were messing around with a shark, a sand shark. So it's like, and then people, of course, were going back crazy on Twitter. But it's like, hey, look, man, you are our number one player. You are the reason why we went as far as we did. And I'm going to go there. He is the reason why this team was there. He gave us the hope. He cannot risk missing any part of the season next year. So even though maybe this will be taken care of outside of the court, maybe a settlement, maybe like a, hey, pat on the back, we're done.
Right.
And it escapes any kind of punishment from the NFL. But this is not the type of publicity or anything like that we need right now.
No, I agree with you, man. I mean, we've had a good record thus far. I mean, no kind of trouble on the team, or we haven't heard of anything like that recent. Now I know there was a little issue with X last year, but that didn't really that he was cleared on all of that. So let's just hope and pray that Tyreek he'll get a slap on the wrist, or it may not even amount to anything. I mean, we don't know the whole story, right? So anyway, that's the breaking news with Tyreek. Well, Bobby, I want to talk a little bit about the national media.
Yeah.
The national media lately has been really, really hyping the Miami Dolphins up, and rightly so. On paper, they have probably one of the best NFL rosters, right? And not only that, but in Dolphin history, we haven't had a roster like this, on paper, of course, in a long, long time. And here's what I'm going to say about that, okay? Let's start with what McDaniel said, okay, in the press conference. What's been leading up to this media hype, okay? He said that they had found the gold mine in Tua Tagovailoa, okay? Then he and Greer came out and said that the Miami Dolphins the team, the organization, isn't as worried about the offensive line to protect that gold mine as the fans are. That's number 2. Number 3, then we had Tyreek Hill coming out and saying he wanted to get 2,000 yards. He's going for 2,000 yards this year. And then he said that the team is only going to go so far as Tua Tagovailoa takes him, right? And then he talked about how Tua was taking on the leadership role this year, and he's grabbing the bull by the horns. I threw in the bull by the horns, of course, but he did say that Tua is taking the leadership role, and he's really showing maturity there. So that's where it all started. Then we have Vic Fangio, whom I believe more so than the other two, McDaniel and Tyreek. He was told you like it was, didn't hold anything back, and said, we've got some, talking about the defense, we've got some players on this defense that are good and very good, but we got some players that they don't. Basically, he's saying that they didn't fit the scheme. They probably don't fit the scheme, and they're rookies or inexperienced, and they got to get more out of them. To me, that's telling me, and I said this in one of the shows this year. Folks were giving Vic Fangio the high fives and all this before we even played a game, right? And I said, wait a minute. The evidence doesn't say this defense is going to be a top 5 defense like you think. And he may not have all the pieces in place that he needs for his scheme. And it turns out, I think I'm right on target there. Okay. Um, but so this is why the media, I think the national media have seen this, has seen the team, talking about Tua, talking about uh, the defense getting Vic Fangio, which it was our best pickup this offseason, I believe. But here's the thing, okay? Hold on. Let me turn my hat off around because this is my Homer
Yep.
side. This is my objective side, okay?
Okay. So the hater side.
No, not the hater side, the objective side.
Okay.
So here's the deal, okay? With all that I just said, okay, the national media has nothing to lose, okay? If they win, guess what? The national media has everything to talk about the rest of the year, right? If they win. If they lose, you're going to hear it. You're going to hear it big time, nonstop criticism. And you talk about some of these other folks that are haters, you haven't seen nothing until the national media goes off if the Dolphins don't put up a AFC championship, playoff win, or Super Bowl. And let me tell you something. If they do not do that, if they do not have 11-6 record, if they do not win or if they don't even win a playoff game, real talk, Fins talk is going to be called trash talk. What's your take, Bob?
No, I get it. Look, it's kind of weird, as fans, it does get agitating when you're watching sports shows and maybe the Dolphins are doing really good or any of your sports teams are doing really well. And you go to turn on a sports show and they're talking about the Cowboys or the Patriots or the Celtics or the Lakers, or, they bring up all these major names. So, that kind of grinds your gears. But then when it turns around and then they start talking about your squad because of all the big star power, but you as a fan, and maybe us who are a little more in tune with a little of the more of the stuff, we're looking at the objective side and saying, hey, look, even Vic Fangio said, a lot of people say, hey, this is going to be a top 10 defense with Vic Fangio. But Fangio even came out and said, hey, look, we got to see if we have the pieces. And if not, we got to go find the pieces. Because even he's stating, we might not have all the pieces on defense to be successful. Linebacker is still a question mark.
Yes.
Defensive line, nose tackle is still a question mark.
Mm-hmm.
Secondary looks good. Yeah, we got some good pass rushers. We do have a good defensive line, on the face of it. But then you got to think of the depth. Mm-hmm. So then when it turns around and if they fall flat on their face, let's say instead of going 11-6 and they go 9-7 again, and maybe instead of falling into the playoffs like they did this season because a team lost, and they did win, but a team lost. And if the Dolphins would have won and that team would have won, the Dolphins would have been out.
Yeah.
But the Dolphins won, that other team lost, the Dolphins fell in. If the Dolphins go 9-7 and this time they don't get the luck of the draw and they don't make the playoffs, if you like them talking about you now before we even done a damn thing, you're not going to like what they have to say about us then. And Stephen Ross is not going to like what they have to say then.
Absolutely.
And that's when, hey, you know what? That's when you got to worry about TNT. And I'm talking blowing it up.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the pro and the con. That's the risks of it. Being the media's baby, eye candy, before the season has even started, before we've proved anything, is a double-edged sword. It's nice because we're fans and we love that people are starting to recognize the Miami Dolphins and maybe, hey, we might be onto something here. Miami might be looking at the bright light at the end of the tunnel. But guess what? If it is what it always is, and I'm not saying it's going to be, but if Miami falls short, You're not going to like what you're going to hear from the national media if you love what you're hearing now, and you're not going to like what's going to be at the end of the season because Stephen Ross has put too much money, too much time, and he's dealt with too much hate to put up with any of this. So it's nice, but you got to be very cautious. Very cautious.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm gonna say it now. They, not
What's up, Bleezy and Daniel? Ender?
Miami Dolphins put their foot in their mouth. The organization,
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel, Chris Greer, they put their jobs on the line. Okay, they put their foot in their mouths, and I'm gonna hold them to it. But yes, I see we got Bleezy in here. We got Daniel, and we got Ender. Thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate y'all. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends, your families, and your neighbors. As I was informed by our founder producer Bobby, we're about 130 short of 1,000. So if you can hit that like button, it'd be appreciated. So let me go ahead and turn my Homer hat or my hat back onto the Homer position. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Miami Dolphins players, individual players, mostly the starters. We're going to talk a little bit of what I project as far as their numbers, the stats, and things of that nature. And Bobby, I'm going to have you not right now, but I'll have you bring up the screen with the names as we call them out. And I would like for all of you in the chat there, please get involved and let me know what you think. We're going to do over and under. So we'll do, for instance, we'll do Tua Tagovailoa. We'll go with the yards, the TDs. And then I'd like for you all to just go ahead and put it in the chat if he's going to have over or under. We'd like for you to get involved.
So nice to see you, Martina. Thank you for tuning in.
Oh, Martina, nice to have you. Thank you for joining us tonight. So I'm going to start by saying I've been saying that if our quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, if he can, between a scale of 1 to 10, if he can be a 7 for 12 or 13 games, give me a 7 of consistency for 12 or 13 games. That means playing good. Doesn't even have to be an elite level or even very good. Just good. Just game manage. And our defense, it doesn't even have to be a top 5. Okay. I'm saying top 10, top 12 defense, maybe even a 15 we might be able to get away with. We can go to the Super Bowl. Now, I'm not saying we're going to win the AFC championship. I'm just saying that we have great potential. We have the talent. We have the roster. But here's the deal. Mike McDaniel has already apologized to his running backs last year. He apologized for he claims he apologized that he didn't run the ball enough last year. So that's what I expect. I expect them to run the ball more this year. I expect them to pass the ball around, not pass as much, not force the ball downfield like Tua was doing last year. That's not his game. His game is dink and dunk and manage the offense. That's it. That's all we need him to do. He's not going to run. He's not going to create. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying that's not his game. So we're going to start with Tua Tagovailoa. So this year, as soon as Bobby brings up the
you go ahead. I'm gonna pop it up here.
All righty.
There you go.
There we go. Tua Tagovailoa. Okay. I'm going to tell you all right now. It's not if he's healthy. He's going to be healthy, and he's playing 17 games next year. He's going to play 17 games next year.
Do you truly believe that?
I do.
Okay.
I do believe that. I believe he's going to play 17 games. Now, that doesn't mean he's not going to get dinks, little dinks and things like that and nicks and get hurt a little bit. but I don't think it's going to be anything major. I think he's going to make it through the season. I think if he can game manage and play the way that we know he can play, and he can do his thing, is dinking and dunking, I think he'll be just fine. Um, I project Tua Tagovailoa to pass the ball 475 times. He's going to complete 308 passes, 65 completion percentage, 4,500 yards, and 35 TDs. That's about 2 TDs a game. That's about 273 yards a game. And that's about throwing the ball about 28 times a game. So I'm going to ask you all in the chat right now. Is he? Let's go with the yards. Is he going to throw over or under 4,500 yards, or do you agree?
Let me go ahead as we're waiting on here. First
Yep.
off, Martina, again, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. Martina says McDaniel should take a big leap in performance from his rookie season, and Tua is never drinking and dinking and dunking again. Drinking. Are you drinking? No, just kidding. She goes, never dinking and dunking again, not with Tyreek and Waddle on the field. 100%. Bleezy, if we get those numbers, we should be looking really good. I would say under. That's where he's at.
Okay.
Under 4,500 yards.
Under 45.
And I will, you know what? I would probably be there too, because I think he's going to play 15 games. That's
Okay.
where I'm at.
Okay.
15 games. And then
Fair
maybe that's him sitting out a game because, hey, the Dolphins already have a playoff. They are number 1 or 2 seed. He doesn't have to play.
Right.
So I'm at 15 games, you know. I would love 17 games, but 15 games. Dinkin and Duncan. Let me just respond to the Dinkin and Duncan comment.
Absolutely.
Because I just want to say, I know that sounds bad, Martina, to say Dinkin and Duncan. You know, we don't want to say you're all good. You know, it happens to the best of us with spelling correction. But the Dinkin and Duncan, look, the Dolphins could not do that last year, which they didn't, because they didn't really have anybody to dink or dunk to. You know, they had Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. They were going to air it out. And to me, McDaniel, in his first season as a head coach, became a prisoner of that. And that's why you saw a lot of deep bombs and everything. And it was a lot of fun during that 8-3 run. But eventually, that caught up with us. The Dolphins did not have a balanced attack. They didn't run the ball. You know, it was like about an 80-20 split, more passing than it was running. You could dink and dunk with a Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill, because you could go 5 yards, 10 yards out with a Tyreek, and he could go 70 yards to the house. You know, now that you got an A-chain and maybe a healthy Mozart, and who knows, maybe a Dalvin Cook.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the dink and dunk comes into play. That's when, like, hey, if they got Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, which they did it towards the end of the season, covered, you know, the safeties are out back, and now they got these guys, they can't go over the top. If you're dinking and dunking to a Dalvin Cook or A-chain or a Mozart, and now you're getting a defense to choke up, that's when you go back to that big play ability. So
absolutely,
let's not make dink and dunk a bad word. It used to be. Dink and dunk used to be a bad word with a player maybe like a Ryan Tannehill, and I'm not hating on Tannehill, but that was a bad word for him because that's what you expected all the time from him. With this offense, you don't. So you need a little bit of a dink and dunk to have the big plays.
Yeah. And not only that, but I'll piggyback on what you said too. They're going to run the ball more. At least that's what McDaniel said. If he doesn't, that's a different story. But I believe, I'm going to take his word for it. I'm going to believe that he is going to run the ball more this year. And do a little more of the short passes. Let's put it that way. Not dinking and dunking. Some folks don't like that term. Let's say short passes. All right, let's go to the next. So here's another one I wanted to ask too. 35 touchdowns. Does everybody agree on that? Is he going to throw over or under 35 touchdowns? What do you all think?
I think 35 touchdowns is pretty fair, whether he plays 15 games or 17 games, because of the weapons that he has. Yep. I think, if he plays 17 games, again, it would be fair either way, but it would be over, in my opinion. If he plays all 17 games, has to be over. If he plays 15 to 17 games, 35 is okay. Martina says, under 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns, but a higher completed percentage, 69.8.
Okay.
That's what she has. So there you go.
And he can do that, especially if he's going to do more of the short passes. He could probably get that percentage up for sure. Definitely.
Absolutely.
I definitely agree with that. All right, who do we got next, Bobby?
Tyreek Hill.
We got Tyreek Hill. Of course, he's going to play 17 games. He played 17 last year, no problem. And he played with some. He played a little. He was hurt there for a little while. Didn't keep him out though. But I don't think Tyreek is going to get 170 targets this year. It ain't going to happen. I know he said he wants to get 2,000 yards and all this stuff, but realistically, with the weapons that we have, and we've got Waddle, we've got Chosen now, we've got Craycraft, we've got Barrios, we've got Easy E, we've got Smythe, we've got the other tight end, Sorbert. And don't forget the tight end we drafted, Elijah Higgins. Not to say he may not, that he's going to be part of the scheme this year, but he might catch 3 or 4 passes. But I feel that Tyreek is gonna get 85 receptions. Now you can say over or under in the chat, 1,200 yards. But I also mentioned that and projected 10 TDs. Last year, he only got 8. So he's getting 2 more TDs than he did last year.
So
is that under and over for receptions? Or do you all agree?
So I would say I think the receptions are good. I mean, I'm Bleezy. I'm in agreement with Bleezy here with what his response was to Tyreek Hill. I would say maybe over on receptions, just about or over.
Okay.
I'd say over on yards, under on touchdowns. I think he will have more yards, and I think 8 touchdowns is about the ballpark on where he may be next season, especially with all the weapons.
Okay.
But that's where I'm at. Bleezy responds that he will go over on the yards, under on the touchdowns. Tyreek will get his. If he doesn't, he'll head slap you. Okay. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Okay. Well, right there, he's probably averaging about 15 yards a catch, a reception. So, I mean, that's pretty good. I think he was right about that last year, about 14 or 15 yards a reception, if I'm not mistaken. But, okay. So who do we have next, Bobby?
Jalen Waddle.
Jalen Waddle. Again, Jalen Waddle. He's going to play 17 games this year. He's going to have 65 receptions, a little down from last year. He's going to have about the same, well, a little bit under. He's going to have 1,100 yards and 8 TDs. He had 8 TDs last year, if I'm not mistaken. I believe he's going to get 8 TDs again this year. And his receptions went down a little bit, but I think that's pretty fair as far as receptions go. Bobby, what do you think, and what do you all in the chat think? Over or under in receptions and yards in TDs?
I think in regards of over on touchdowns, I think you're about right on yards. Maybe over, maybe 1,200. And I think 65 is fair. I think 65 to 70 would be the ballpark for him next season. Let's see.
70?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Martina says Waddle's going over on all 3. There you go.
Okay.
I think Bleezy says he thinks those numbers are very close. He'll go over on all of them too.
Okay. Very good.
There you go.
Very good. Very good. Who do we have next?
Mr. Smythe.
We have Durham Smythe. Durham Smythe, he caught about the same amount of receptions last year. He caught about the same amount of balls, 18. 2 TDs, 150 yards. Look, we don't use our tight end a lot, but we use them more than you think. Last year, Jazeki caught over 32 balls, right about 32 footballs. And Durham Smythe caught about 18. So if you gift wrapped up into one tight end, right there, that's close to 50 passes to tight end. So, but I do feel that Durham Smythe will probably catch about 18, 150 yards. Over or under, Bobby? What do you think? And folks in the chat, what's your take on that?
Oh man, it's wow. I think obviously there's going to be somebody who has more than that. I understand he's probably not going to be that big part of the offense. I'm going to go over, but not much. I'm going to
Okay.
go over, but not much.
Okay. Now, folks are forgetting about, and I didn't add him to the starting lineup, but it's possible that he could be part of that starting lineup as well, or rotating in, and that's Eric Sorbert. Um,
Yes,
he can
yes.
catch the ball too. So let's not forget, he might get another 10, 15 catches as well. So, but
Well,
anyway,
and Bleezy says over on all of those this year for Smythe.
okay,
Martinez is close, but I'm taking the under for Smythe.
okay, all
Now we're
right,
moving
that's
over to
fair.
running backs.
Yeah, let's go to the running backs. All right. Now this is what I factored in. Okay, last year, Raheem Mostert had 181 carries. Jeff Wilson had right about 85, 86. Um, so there was a combined total of about 265 carries. Okay. Now, what I also factored in was A Chain. I think A Chain is going to be part of that rotation of the running backs. I think he's going to get, and we'll get to him, but I think he's going to get some carries. He's going to get some catches as well. So he's gonna add to that running back core as far as attempts and yards and TDs and things of that nature. But let's go here with Raheem Mostert. Raheem, I think he played about 16 games last year. I know he was hurt one game or two, or maybe two. I don't remember. But he's gonna be our featured back, I think, unless we get a Delvin Cook. But honestly, guys, in my opinion, this is my opinion only. I don't think if we get Delvin Cook, I know some folks say, well, if you get Calvin Cook, the defenses are going to play. They're going to play up, and they're going to they're going to be spying on Cook because he's Cook. I don't think so. I don't think this offense is going to be any better with any better with Cook than what we already have in the running back core, and that includes A Chain. Okay, but Raheem Mostert, 205 attempts. He's going to get his 1,000 yards this year, and he's going to get 6 TDs. Would folks in the chat say under, over, and attempts, yards, TDs, and what's your opinion, Bob? What would you
So
say?
Bleezy goes with under on yards, over on touchdowns for Raheem. I'll say, for instance, under on games. I think 16, 15 games, which is pretty typical of him.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think right on the money with touchdowns. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 7, but I'm gonna go with 6. I'm with you on that. And I'm gonna go under on yards, and I'm not a lot. I'm going to 900 some odd yards this season.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
With the running back room as it is. I hope it. I mean, if it's 1,000, that's great. I mean, Miami ran the
Yeah.
damn ball, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would say under on yards, about the same on touchdowns, under on games.
Right.
Yeah, I know
And
that
he,
doesn't really matter, but I'm just throwing that
yeah,
out.
and he hasn't lost anything on his yards per carry either.
No, he
I mean,
hasn't.
you're looking at about 4 point something, 4.5 or something like that in yard. Yeah, 4.5 average. So, that's about right for him. Next, who do we have? Another running back?
You got Wilson.
Jeff Wilson. Look, Jeff Wilson is going to carry. Now, remember, he didn't play the full season with Miami. He split the season with San Francisco, and of course he came to Miami, and he only got to 86 carries, but he had over, I think he had over 86 or something. He had about 175, 180 carries. With it would have been if he would have stayed with San Francisco. So I figure he's gonna get at least 150 carries. Um, about 600 yards, about 4 yards a carry, maybe a little over. He's going to get his 4 TDs. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, I think because he was close to, I think he had 800. Was it 800 some odd yards last year? Split between.
No, I don't think he had 800 last year.
Oh man, what was his
He
number?
might have if you combine San Francisco and
Yeah, and that's
Miami.
what I'm talking about. Full
Yeah, yeah,
season.
yeah. You're
Let
right.
me, let me pull up his numbers from
Uh
last
huh.
year, just so for all intents and purposes. Last year, he had 860 yards with 5 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's fair 600. I think it's
Okay.
fair. I'll go over. I think it's gonna be
Okay.
over. Because he's gonna have, he's gonna know the playbook. He's gonna do better. I'm gonna go, man, 4 touchdowns. Again, all these numbers are fair. I can't argue any of these. I just think over because of the type of players with
Mm-hmm.
Mozart.
Right.
I would say over on both of them, not much. I mean, talking about like 700 yards, 5 touchdowns. If
Okay.
not having exact numbers, but I'd go over. But I think this is completely fair.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with Bleezy. Bleezy said that he thinks A Chain will get more touches as the season goes on, and I agree with that. I think, and it all depends. It just depends on how he's catching on to the scheme and all that. But yeah, that's probably a fair statement right there. I can agree with that for sure, Bleezy.
All right. So talking about running backs, talking about A Chain, let's get the A Chain. This is how you have it playing
There we
out.
go. We got A Chain. I think he's going to be rotating in. He's going to be an integral part of this running back core. And remember, folks, I haven't. I don't know, Bobby. Did you put their receiving in yards and TDs for receiving and all that too on
I don't
here?
have those in here. No,
Okay.
no. But
Well,
you could run them off. I think I have the list in front of me. Let me pull that up for
okay,
you. So
yeah, but right now we'll do this, and then after we do A Chain, we'll go ahead and go with the list on receptions. What I think.
gotcha. Yeah,
Um, but Devon A Chain, like I said, I think he's going to be an integral part in this offense. And Bleasy might have a great point. I think he has a really good point that as the season progresses, that he will eventually maybe get more touches and be part of the offense, and hopefully none of the two running backs get hurt. You know, if that's the case, then definitely he's gonna take more of the load. But I figured he'll get 85 attempts. Um, that's about 5 attempts a game. They'll slowly, integrate him into the offense. He'll get 400 yards because he's got speed. He's probably going to be right up there at about 4 yards a carry. And he'll get his 3 TDs rushing as well. What does everyone think in the chat? And Bob, what do you think?
no, I think this is fair, and I know this might to some maybe to someone because since I don't have all the numbers on there, but to some that might look like oh that's not this is a pretty average type or lower average type season, but it's not the whole picture. You got to count the running, you got to count the return game, you got to count the
Yes,
receiving game,
that's correct.
and again, 400 yards for 3 touchdowns plus the receiving plus what he does especially, and yeah, let me make sure I have this put on here. BMD, you know, has RB1. We don't know how he's going to turn out. He might blow it up. He might be over. I'm going to, but again, I would say this is about right. If we're talking a healthy Mozart, a healthy Wilson with an A Chain, a 3 running
Mm-hmm.
back combo, who knows what
Right.
happens in addition running back if we add one
Mm-hmm.
in. This is about fair. Receiving numbers, have you had it with A Chain specifically, just as that way people have a clearer picture and to see how fair it is. You had 17 games with 85 attempts, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. Receiving, you had 34 receptions, 350 yards receiving with 3 touchdowns. So that's 6 total touchdowns and 750 yards total.
Yep.
So I mean, that would be pretty damn impressive for a rookie running back,
Mm-hmm.
being the third back possibly on the roster.
Right.
Martinez says good numbers for the rookie, but he'll get 30 receptions and another 3 times. There you go. So yeah, right there, Martinez. Steve agrees with you. He has 34 with 3 touchdowns, so he's right there. 500 yards for McD. I think we're going to pound that rock this year. I hope so. I
Yeah,
hope
I
we
hope
do.
so too.
It is very important.
That's what I based these carries and yards on. That we're going to pound the rock more. And what did I have Mostert as far as receptions and
Yeah,
Wilson?
so Raheem Mozart. So again, running numbers, 17 games, average, 205 attempts with 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. For receiving, you had it as 30 receptions, 300 yards receiving with 2 touchdowns.
There
So
you
that'd be
go.
1,300 yards
Yep.
total offense with 8 total touchdowns. So again, that's pretty. That's a pretty look. Jeff Wilson, 150 attempts, 600 touchdowns, 600 yards, 4 touchdowns. You had him going for 20 receptions, 140 yards, and a touchdown. Totally. So about 740 yards, 5 touchdowns total offense. Again, and this I just want to say, if this was the case for the running back room, of course, with the receivers, I mean, imagine what Miami can do offensively if Steve Malloy's predictions come true. If his predictions come true, guys, you're going to come right back here to Real Talk Fans Talk and ask him the lottery numbers. You're going to be a millionaire. All right. So,
Lucky.
Alec Ingold. Let's talk about
Yes.
Alec Ingold, man.
Yes,
What do you
sir.
got?
Alec Ingold. We've got Alec Ingold now. We know that he's a big part in the offense, even though he doesn't shine like the rest of them. He's a good blocker. He does a lot of thing in that moving around in the offense. He did some of those little trick plays. Remember that touchdown he made.
Yeah.
So I figured he's going to get about 5 attempts, 18 yards, and he'll get a couple TDs. And I think I even have him receiving some balls too. What do y'all think? Over, under in the chat? What do you think?
So I'm going to go a little over. I think he might get more opportunities because of how this offense is going to look. Because there's going to be a lot of distractions. He
Yes.
might sneak a couple in. So, but I'm going to go a little over. I'm going to go over on yards. I'm going to go over on touchdowns. I'm not saying he's going to have some crazy thing. I just think, I believe he's going to get that opportunity. Over for Ingold, just Martinez saying the same thing. Receiving, the way you had it playing out, Steve, you had 20 receptions, 140 yards, and a touchdown and receiving. So, again, I think that's about the running as well. I think I'd say, if he could add that into the total offense, we got ourselves a very good damn offensive playmaking. And I agree with Martina. Offensive line needs to step up.
Yep.
To have this play,
For
but
sure.
also I think more it is about the play calling. It is about McDaniel. McDaniel needs to implement a balanced attack, and with Steve Malloy's projections, this is a balanced attack. So now we got the numbers there. So last year Miami did very well offensively in regards of total offense. How do you see them playing? How do you see that playing out? Where are they? What's their ranking by the end of next season?
Well, I believe last year they were sixth, and I'm going to call it again this year sixth. They'll be ranked sixth.
So there you go.
That's my prediction.
There you go. So after everything, guys, Steve Malloy, after all his projections, everything else, he has the Dolphins offense being ranked sixth in the NFL, which is damn good compared to what we might think the defense could do. How does the defense project? How does the defense play out? Do they go top 10? We don't know, but we do know that offense should not be that major issue. And imagine, we talked about the running games. Imagine adding a Dalvin Cook to that running game, how that may play out, but just without him, look how Miami does. It's a win-win situation, especially if you ask Steve Malloy.
And Bobby and I think these are realistic numbers. I think
so. You're right.
I think it can happen. But there's one thing that we don't know, and you said it, is the defense. We don't know what the defense is going to do. Vic Fangio, we already have emphasized it here tonight. He doesn't feel comfortable with what he has in place right now, and we're not going to know that until they get on the field, and we're not even really going to know that in preseason. We're not going to know that until they get on the field in a regular season game and they play 2, 3, 4 games. So, hopefully, his history, talks, that he's had top 10 defenses, top 5, 10 defenses, but he's with Miami now. And here's something I want to talk about too. We got a situation with Christian Wilkins. Christian Wilkins, based on the contracts that have been they've been giving these other defensive tackles in the league. Look, we all know that Christian Wilkins is the leader of this defense. He's the vocal point of this defense. He's a great guy. He's a joyous guy, jolly guy. He plays 110%. Every he's an every down guy. He's all over the place. I personally, I'm not going to pay him 22 million dollars. He's a run stopper. Now I know he offers a lot of value in leadership and all that, and he's going to give you 120%. But in the Vic Fangio offense, okay, I just don't think and I've been saying this for a while now. I don't think he fits the scheme, but we'll find out. I mean, I'd love to sign him. If Vic Fangio feels that he fits the scheme, yeah, go ahead and sign him, but not 22 million. I'd give him 18 million. And if but not 22 million. What do you think, Bob? What's your take on that?
I would hate to see Christian Wilkins go. I'd hate to see him go.
Yeah.
Heart of the defense, I think, heart of the team at some points. But I am in agreement with you, unless it's again, I think they could get a deal done if it's more bonus structured where it's like, hey, you know what, we'll give you a big bonus, but the cap hit are going to be lower. I'm okay with that. Again, that's asking a lot of Stephen Ross, who's done a lot in regards of that nature with bonus, the way it's played out. But it is a lot of money for a guy who specializes in one thing. He's not, and I'm not comparing, but again, he's not Sue. He's not Aaron Donald. He's not where you go, no, we need to go and get that guy. We need to make sure we pay him to stay here. Yeah, he's an important piece to our defense. Absolutely. Absolutely. But, man, when has he been a game changer?
Well, he's been with Miami. He was a first round pick. He took a little while to develop and mature, and to be the player he is now. Okay, he just didn't come out, throwing people around and doing what he's doing now. It took him 3-4 years, and we haven't won a playoff game with him yet, or a Super Bowl or anything like that. So yeah, I agree with you there. He hasn't really done anything impactful, really. And here's the thing, Zach Sealer, right? Not last year, but the year before last, I believe he was top 10 defensive tackle, right? And he's making a lot less money than Christian Wilkins. Okay. You can do the same thing. If you're going to keep a guy like a Christian Wilkins, you can do the same thing with a Zach Sealer. That's my opinion.
I think
for cheaper.
I if you were to ask me right now with that number in mind, 20 million for Christian Wilkins, would you rather re-sign Christian Wilkins for a $22 million deal up front? I'm talking about the first year. That's a huge cap hit compared to a Zach Sealer, probably at a lower number. I'd be saying, give me Zach Sealer. You're still getting a great amount of production. You probably could find somebody to be your run stopper, and maybe trade Christian Wilkins for someone, maybe a draft pick or two. I don't know.
Yeah, we're going to need draft capital coming up in the next year or two.
Hey, I want to touch on this because I just want to explore a little more before we call it a night. And again, everybody tuning in, thank you so much. Whether you're watching on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, you're watching Real Tough Fins Talk, Steve Malloy, Rob Mosley, Dolphins Thirsty for Dolphins content. Go to dolphinsthirsty.com. A lot of great stuff. Two of the best guys in Dolphins land, nicest guys. I'm so blessed to have them a part of the channel and to know them. Really cool dudes. So it's, come here every Tuesday night and watch them at 7:30 each week Eastern. But I know we touched on this before the show. We're going to I just want to touch on it again. And because I'm going to say my piece and then you roll, brother.
Okay.
So we know the Dolphins are connected with Dalvin Cook. We know Dalvin Cook is a free agent. We know that Miami has tried to trade for him in the season last year. We know they tried to trade for him before the draft. We know they're still connected, and it's just about finding the right amount of money or finding the right deal that makes sense for the Dolphins and for Dalvin Cook. That's playing out. Another name that gets connected with Miami, which you brought up the point before the show, is like, do we need him? But a name that's been connected with Miami, Travis Kelce, connected him. Former Dolphins general manager Randy Mueller says, hey, he'd be a perfect fit for Miami, which you would go, why would we need him? But at the same time, why would you reject him? And that is, and then the latest today was DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, well, there I go, spoiler. Dalvin Cook said, hey, I would love to play with a DeAndre Hopkins. I want to pair up with him. DeAndre Hopkins says in his tweet, hey, look, you know what? Whatever receiver group, I'm paraphrasing here, whatever receiver group I'm with next year, I'm going to help out a lot, make life easier on them. And Tyreek Hill retweets it, quotes tweets, winky face, smiley. So, right. Likelihood close to zero, never zero, but close to zero. But why would we need him? I can understand the cap numbers, and again, if the Dolphins think they are a player or two away or put them over the hump, they're going to make it work. If the player thinks the Dolphins are a player away and they could take a lower number, why not? Why would you take a DeAndre Hopkins with a Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? I mean, we don't know. Chosen is not a star stellar player. We don't know what he's going to be. He's underperformed. Braxton Berrios is a return guy. You think of the Cedric Wilson underperformed last year. Jalen Waddle is, would benefit the most from having a player. And again, this is just hearsay here, but it's being thrown out there. Miami's connected. Mm-hmm. My thing is, for the right amount of money, if we're talking the right price, I'm absolutely up for doing that because he is a veteran. He's an older guy. He went to Arizona, did not work out. You brought up his $16 million last year. That number is going to be considerably lower than that. I can't see him signing anything. Maybe $16 million for 2 years. I don't know, $8 million, whatever. I think that's with the Patriots, and we know how that might turn out. Mm-hmm. But if it's Miami and you're talking DeAndre Hopkins with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and whoever those other guys back there are, then you're talking about a running game. If it's a Dalvin Cook who wants to pair with him with an A-chain, it's not about, for me, it's not about, why do we need them? That's why you need them. I mean, it's not about who goes down at that point. It's about, hey, next man up. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a reality. Dalvin Cook is more real than a DeAndre Hopkins Dalvin Cook.
Oh, absolutely.
But I wouldn't sleep on it, and I would not hate it. Yeah. I would not hate it. And I know you brought up, and I'll let you, and you're going to bring it up, I know, the contracts. Hey, look, we got to worry about re-signing Wilkins. You just brought it up. We got to re-sign Sealer. This down the line. To me, it's about winning. Mm-hmm. How do you secure a win? Now, look, I'd rather use that money if there was a guy there, if a star linebacker was available. Don't get DeAndre Hopkins or Dalvin Cook. Go get that star linebacker. But there's no star linebacker available. There's 2 star players, and so I think if you're worried about winning right now, and you're not worried about, hey, I need to re-sign a guy who can only run stuff, or a Zach Sealer, you go get that deal done if that's a legitimate option. If the money's right, you go get it done.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to push back on you a little bit.
I know you would.
On Chosen first.
Okay, go ahead.
Chosen Anderson, if you go back and you look at his stats, you can go ahead and look at his stats. The man has been very productive in his career as a wide receiver. And he's fast, and he adds another dynamic to this team that we don't have. We don't have a 6'3" wide receiver. He's 6'3", and he has speed. He can go up and get the ball. We don't have that, and he had a very good, productive career. So I have to push back with you on that. Number 2, you said we need a Dalvin Cook. Okay, maybe we do need a Dalvin Cook if the price is right. And I've said this before. I don't think we need him. We're not in a desperate need to get him. But if he's available and the price is right,
you talking Hopkins or Cook?
No, I'm talking about Cook.
Okay.
Yeah, if the price is right, yeah, okay, get him, and he's definitely gonna. He's not gonna hurt the offense. If anything, he's gonna make it a little better. If the price is right, go ahead and get him. Okay. Number 2. Okay. Vic Fangio has already said he needs to go out and get more pieces on the defense. Well, he didn't say it directly, but he said it in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
So we need an inside linebacker. I think he knows that. David Long is hurt. He's been hurt. He didn't even get to practice much at all. Okay. He's nursing a soft tissue injury. So We need an inside linebacker. We need a safety because Brandon Jones, we don't know what he's going to be like when he comes back, right? And I don't think he fits the Fangio scheme. Everybody's all high and mighty on him. All he does is sack a quarterback. Great. But can he cover? No, he can't. And he's going to have to cover in a Vic Fangio's offense. And that's something that's not his skill set, his talent. His talent is getting to the quarterback or get stopping the run. Maybe a run stuffer at the line. He's that kind of a guy. He's not a cover guy. He just isn't. So Deshaun Elliott is going to be the starter anyway. That's my opinion. But that's why they went out and got Deshaun Elliott. Not for depth, for a starting position, because I don't think Brandon Jones is going to be with his team at the beginning of the year. And I think we're going to have to go out and replace somebody as a depth piece for Deshaun Elliott that fits Fangio's scheme. And the defensive line, I know you mentioned Wilkins is a piece. Zeiler's a piece. Raquan Davis is a piece. We got Agba. We got who else do we have? Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb. Okay. He's still not satisfied with the defensive line. Okay. We're going to have to get some depth there because I don't think we have the right pieces in place, whether it's Wilkins or Zeiler that goes. I don't think we're going to keep both. So we still have to go out and get pieces on defense. And I think if Vic Fangio has a say, they're going to go out and they're going to listen to Vic Fangio to build this defense because that's why they brought him in here, to fix the defense.
So, very quick, I agree with you. And in regards to Vic Fangio and what he has said, I brought it up a little earlier. Mm-hmm. But that's exactly my point before, though. Who is out there? Now, again, preseason, okay, guys get cut, maybe a surprise cut here and there. And that's when you go ahead and you can use that money to go get a player, maybe a linebacker or a safety or whatever. But there's nobody there right now with that free agency and that caliber. There's no starting linebacker worth Dalvin Cook.
Here's the thing about Vic Fangio. He's a defensive guru, right?
As they say.
I'm
not a fan of guru things.
Okay, but as they say, right?
Yeah.
And no, I'm with you on that. But here's the thing. He doesn't have to go out and get stars, like a Jalen Ramsey, a big splash star like him. He doesn't. He just has to get folks that fit his scheme.
And let me just say, McD, you're right. Agba will free up cash if they were to move him for whatever reason. That would free.
They're not moving Agba.
What's up, California?
And to be quite honest with you, I think that Miami is. I don't think they can get out of, or I don't think Chris Grier is going to get out of signing Christian Wilkins. I just don't think he is. I think it's his pick. He was a number 1 pick, and he is a leader in on the defense. But I think it's going to be he's hard pressed to pay Christian Wilkins. That's just my opinion. Although I don't want to see him getting 22 million, but he might be hard pressed to do that. Only because of those reasons.
And Martina, Hopkins isn't playing as a third receiver. Why on earth would you take snaps away from Tyreek or Waddle? Hopkins absolutely makes no sense. Hopkins would not be playing as a third receiver. He would probably be the second receiver with Tyreek. Waddle would be the third receiver. You're not taking snaps away. You were taking snaps away, I guess, from Waddle when you signed Tyreek, and you were supposed to split all 3 snaps with Cedric Wilson, who didn't pan out. It's basically the same thing. It absolutely makes sense if you're trying to win the game and trying to make an offense where a defense doesn't know who to cover, when to cover, how to cover. If you want to help Tua, you get all the weapons possible. That's why it's being talked about. It's not about making, I don't want to take away these snaps from this guy. I don't want to hurt this guy's feeling. It takes this guy away. Blah, blah, blah. No, it's about doing what's best, not only for your quarterback, but for the football team. Not likely going to happen, but all I'm saying is that I'm not against it happening. I think, if Miami were to sit down with him, I'm not going to go, but you're taking snaps away from Tyreek and Waddle. No, why? Are you kidding me? That's DeAndre and Hopkins. You kidding me? To pair him with Tyreek and Waddle with Tua as their quarterback?
That'd definitely be amazing.
I'm saying, look, the money thing, I think that's fair. I think that's a fair point. Hey, man, we need money to go sign a guy who maybe a defensive player who falls off that might help Fangio. We need help on that defense, not the offense.
And then don't forget the O-line, too.
That's fair. That's an argument I could listen to and go, you know what? You got me. I'm down with that. we need maybe a center, or a guard, a left guard becomes available, or a right tackle. Even though I think Austin Jackson might surprise some people next season, that's an argument. But saying, oh, but why are we going to take snaps away from anybody? What? No, who gives a damn? It's not about that. It's about making the best team possible in order to win. Aren't we sick of being 9-7, close to 500? Aren't we sick
9-8?
Not 9-8? Sorry, oops, my bad. I less a loss. I'll add a loss on there. 9-8 for 2 years in a row. Are we sick of not making the playoffs? Are we sick of getting into a playoff 1 year out of the 3 years of a head coach and getting eliminated? Aren't we sick of that? Are we sick of being mediocre or being what's it called, catfished, or whatever you want to call it? We're sick of it. So it's about winning. I don't care about a year from now. I don't care about 2 years from now. I don't care about anybody's feelings when it comes to the players and, oh, they're taking snaps away. I care about winning the Super Bowl. What can we do to win the Super Bowl? Steve was old enough. Steve, forgive me if I'm getting this wrong. You're old enough to experience a Super Bowl, right or wrong?
You're absolutely right on.
I haven't. Listen, I grew up in Miami, as Steve has. I'm a diehard Heat, Panthers, Marlins, Dolphins, but I bleed nothing. I bleed aqua and orange. If the Heat would have won the finals this year, I would have been ecstatic. I would have been excited. If the Panthers would have won their first Stanley Cup, what an amazing moment. I've lived through 3 Miami Heat championships. I lived through 2 Marlins World Series. I've never experienced win, lose, or draw Miami Dolphins Super Bowl. I want to experience that because I know I will shed a tear if the Dolphins win it. That's what I want. Not worried about taking away snaps from anybody. I'm worried about winning Super Bowls. And that's my tirade. That's my tirade, Steve.
I agree, Bobby. I'm with you, baby. You're getting me fired up too, man.
Let's go.
But anyway, we had a good show tonight, man. I and Bobby, I appreciate you filling in for my sidekick there.
Of course.
Dolphin Thursday, Rob Mosley. Make sure you check him out on dolphinthursday.com, and Dolphins Chatter on Friday. Dolphins Chatter at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know you all will enjoy that show as well. Bobby, thanks again, brother. I appreciate it. Folks in the chat, please don't forget to hit that like button on your way out. And subscribe and share. We're 130 away, as Bobby said, from 1,000. We want to get that 1,000. I know you guys are going to make it happen for us, and we appreciate y'all. We couldn't do this without you. I'm just going to have to say goodnight, but I want to say one thing first. Remember, Dolphins number 1, baby! Dolphins number 1!
Love.